Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is oXevo, and in this video, I will be going over everything you need to know about Ayaka. I will be going over artifacts, weapons, talent priorities, team comps, and great synergies for Ayaka. So, Ayaka is a Cryo main DPS. She has insane burst damage, her normal attacks, charge attacks, and elemental skills are amazing as well. And in my opinion, she has become one of the best main DPSs in the game as of now. And she can like shred through everything in front of her. Her damage is really good. I can't wait to show you all what it's like. And also she is fun to play with in my opinion. I know a lot of people has said that she looks a little boring and her playstyle is boring, but for me she's actually kind of fun. I mean, you do you. I mean, if she's boring for you, of course, like I can understand opinions are opinions, but to me personally, she's really fun to play with. And also, what I really like about her is that her entire kit works together so well, and she deals a lot of cryo damage, which actually I was missing on my account. So I am really excited to get her. So some things to know about Ayaka is that you can use her as a cryo sub DPS as well, especially as a burst proctor. Her burst has some really good cryo sub DPS capability, since you can actually swap out and you can start using other characters as your main damage dealer, so she can be used like that as well. So going on forward, I just wanted to make a quick disclaimer that Ayaka, in my opinion, is free-to-play friendly. She has many great free-to-play friendly builds, and her damage is still amazing as a free-to-play build, so that's also something to keep in mind. Some main DPSs require much more pay-to-win options for them to be that amazing, but Ayaka isn't one of them. I think she can be an amazing free-to-play friendly main DPS, especially if your account is lacking them. So first up, I want to show you my Ayaka. So yeah, my Ayaka is level 90. I've been working on leveling her up for quite some time now. I wasn't able to make any videos for the past week because I was getting my room renovated so that I can make better videos, and I just got better setups, so I'm actually really excited for that. But anyways, yeah, so my Ayaka's at level 90. I did accidentally unlock her C1, so this isn't technically a C0 build video. However, in my opinion, her C1 doesn't really make her that different. All it does is that it can decrease her elemental skills cooldown time by 0.3 seconds, which is fine, but honestly, I don't think it's really that different from her being C0. So everything from this video still stays true to C0, and the damage will really be the same, except for the additional elemental skill applications that I can do. So do keep that in mind. I did unlock it accidentally. I was saving it. I didn't want to yet, but it did happen. I was kind of rushing. I was trying to level up my talents, but I was rushing so much that I didn't realize I was on constellations, and I unlocked it. So there's that. Don't do that. Don't be like me. I'm stupid. Don't do that. But anyways, yeah, as you can see, my talent levels are at 868. I have been working on her for quite some time now. I had a lot of time to actually level her up, so this will be a lot of fun. I can't wait to show you guys all what Ayaka can actually do. Alright, so the first thing I want to touch bases on in terms of the actual build are artifacts. So, in my opinion, Ayaka is a cryo nuker. So a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer is her best artifact set in slot. With Gladiators and the new Shimenawa's Reminiscence being a decent options, I don't really recommend using these instead of Blizzard Strayer. You absolutely can. If you prefer to play her this way, go ahead and use it, but I prefer Blizzard Strayer because in my opinion her kit just has so much cryo enabling moves that it's better to use her as a cryo main DPS and with the Blizzard Strayer 4-piece. However, the new Shimenawa's Reminiscence can be really good since it does increase her attack by 18%, and also with the 4-piece set, when you use an elemental skill, your plunging, charge, and normal attacks are increased by 50% for 10 seconds, which is actually really nice on her since you do use her normal and charge attacks quite a lot. So do keep that in mind. It can work out really well, but I still prefer Blizzard Strayer. So for the Blizzard Strayer set, I recommend running attack percent on the Sands, cryo damage bonus on the Goblet, and crit damage or attack percent on the Crown. Most people would benefit more from crit damage, but if your artifacts have amazing crit damage on them already, as in the substats, you could benefit greatly with with extra attack percentage if you are over 200% crit damage or so. Without the crown piece, that is. A feature that is really great about the Blizzard Strayer set on Ayaka is that it can give you a total of 40% crit rate, but overall a 20% crit rate boost at nearly all times. So because of that, most of your additional crit rate should come from your artifact substats, because you do not want to overcap the crit rate percentage, because I believe past 99 or 100% it will start to negatively affect your character's damage potential. So the other substat to look for or try to get would be attack percentage, crit damage, and also energy recharge. Energy recharge is important in Ayaka because her energy cost is 80, which is quite high, and her burst is the piece of her kit that you should be using the most, or at least try to get it up at all times. So yeah, energy charge would be really great on her. And of course, crit rate would be on lower priority, but it's still needed depending on how you set her up, depending on what weapon you use. We will get to that a little bit later, but crit rate is on the lower end of priority because you can get a total of 40% from the Blizzard Strayer set. So on top of that, it also gives you a 15% cryo damage bonus, which is really nice since Ayaka's kit really revolves around using cryo. So in a recap, try not to go over 50 to 55% crit rate without the Blizzard Strayer crit rate bonus. And if your crit damage is really high, you can use attack percentage here because you can benefit from the extra attack percent, because with Blizzard Strayer, most of the times you are trying to get more crit damage and crit rate, but if you are already over 200% or so, you could benefit more from attack percentage because your attack boosts are overall low on the Blizzard Strayer set. Now, I also want to touch a little bit on sub DPS setups. I say you could do a 2-piece Blizzard Strayer and also a 2-piece Novelist set because it can give you 20% extra burst damage and also that 15% cryo damage bonus, which is really nice on her and works great if you're using Ayaka as a sub DPS. So next up, I want to go over her weapons. Ayaka has great 5-star and 4-star options. Her kit isn't that limited to small amount of swords to use, which is great because some DPSs aren't that free-to-play friendly, but in my opinion, Ayaka is overall. So for the 5-star options, nearly all would work fine, with of course Mid-Splitter being #1 in slot. It's the weapon intended for her and it's made for her. But Aquila, Skyward, and Summit Shaper I don't have, but I would assume that it works well. Those are all good options, and you can use Primordial Jade Cutter on one condition. If your artifact substats do not have any crit rate on them whatsoever, or at least very small amount, and if you want to be overcapping on crit rate, then you could use that weapon. It would work just fine. But as a whole, it will be hard to do that. I mean, it depends. I mean, you can get some pretty bad artifacts, so it's not that hard to do it. But if you do use Primordial Jade Cutter, just make sure you aren't overcapping on the crit rate. Then you should be fine and it can be usable. So for the 4-stars, I'd say use the new Amenoma sword, which is great. I don't have it yet, but it does give you attack percent, which can work really nice, especially with the Blizzard Strayer set, since it's so hard to get high attack percentages on that set. It's a good weapon to use. Anything with attack percent would work out for her, so I do recommend that. The Blacklift sword is great. It's a crit damage weapon. You get it from the shop using Star Glitters. I know a lot of people won't have that since, you know, it's painful to use Star Glitters for that, but if you don't mind and if you can get it, do get it. It's a great option. It's similar to the Mid-Splitter because it gives you a crit damage bonus, which is great for Ayaka. Really high crit damage on her works really well. And of course, the same with every other main DPS, but since she's using Blizzard Strayer, crit damage weapon would work really nice, especially as a 4-star option. And another one would be the flute. The flute could also work fine. I mean, the passive isn't that important on her, but it can work on her, and it gives you high attack percentage on it, and it just works overall nicely. It's a good option to use. So another thing, just like the Primordial Jade Cutter, you do have the Black Sword. I don't have it leveled up, but it kind of is the same thing, same situation. The crit rate rule that I explained earlier, it applies to this one as well. If you can avoid overcapping your crit rate, you can use this weapon, but I would recommend the Blacklift over it, and also the new Amenoma sword, which are better options in my opinion overall. However, this can still work. So these are the weapons. I have tested out a few, and I know of a few other ones just from other people telling me or just seeing some other videos, so those are good options to use. But I can tell you that the Mid-Splitter, of course, Skyward, Aquila, and the flute work out really well. So yeah, those could work for sure, and the other ones are hypothetical, but they should work out fine, and you should use them if you have them. So next up, I want to go over the talent priorities for Ayaka. So in my opinion, you should start out with her burst. Her burst is the most important to level up since it is your largest damage dealer of her kit. Then next up would be her normal attack, since you do use it a lot, and it also deals some really nice damage as well, especially her charge attacks. Yeah, this can work out really nicely. Do level up her normal attacks next. And then last would be her elemental skill. Her elemental skill is good. However, the only reason why I recommend leveling it up last is only because it's a straight damage. It doesn't do anything else, because she does have a passive ability that she can deal 30% more damage for 6 seconds after you use her elemental skill. However, by leveling it up, you do not increase that percentage, so that's why it's on the lower end of the priorities. So let's dabble into her playstyle / her kit. Ayaka has a unique feature which allows her to infuse her sword with Cryo after she sprints. This is one of my favorite things about her, since she can constantly use the Cryo element without having to wait for a cooldown or anything like that, or losing energy on her. Her sprint can also increase your damage percentage by 18%. And it refreshes 10 stamina when you pop up near an enemy, which is also really nice because then you don't have to worry about your stamina running low. Her elemental skill is also great to use because it does increase the damage of her normal and charge attacks by 30%, and it lasts for 6 seconds. So with this being said, Ayaka can always have uptime on the Cryo element on her kit if you do the following. So you can always have uptime on the Cryo element if you do the following. Elemental skill, sprint, normal attack 1, 2, 3, 4, charge attack, sprint again. And you repeat that over and over again, and you repeat that over and over again until you get your elemental skill back, and then you start that chain all over. So this works out really nicely. Another option that you can do would just be to start off with her elemental skill, and then you dash and then charge attack, dash, charge attack, dash, charge attack. You can do this as well. I kind of prefer doing the other one, but that really just comes down to playstyle. I personally prefer the other chain that I have mentioned, but this is also a viable option. And then let's go ahead and showcase it on the enemy right here so you guys get a little bit of an idea of how it would play out. Alright, so you can see that's kind of how you want to use Ayaka. It's pretty simple. I mean, she is a little bit more unique in the sense that you actually have to dash around and use her elemental skill, then charge attacks. It's actually really, really fun to use in my opinion. So yeah, do keep that in mind. I actually really like doing this, but one thing I did want to note is that you can actually do any randomized combo you please. So I do not recommend taking her normal attacks all the way to the last one, only because that you could be missing out on DPS and also having the risk of staying out on the field a little bit longer without dashing. So I don't really recommend that. However, it's not the worst idle animation in the game, and you can dash cancel it. However, I still don't recommend it because I recommend going 1, 2, 3, 4 and then charge attack. I feel like it works better since after the last hit you can also not cancel into her charge attack, which also makes her lose out on some DPS. So another important piece of her kit is her elemental skill. You do use her elemental skill whenever you can because it does have a high damage output and it can increase her overall damage. And additional fun feature is that it can launch up smaller enemies, which I actually personally enjoy. So the last piece of her kit is her burst, which is just absolutely amazing. One of the best bursts in the game. And breaking down her burst, she has 2 different multipliers, her bloom damage and her cutting damage. The cutting damage is for all the cuts she creates, similar to Venti's burst, and her bloom damage is the final explosion of her burst. The burst lasts 5 seconds and it cuts 20 times within that time frame. So you can imagine it deals a whole lot of damage. I will show you once I showcase the character because Ayaka's damage is ridiculously strong. So now I want to go over some great team comps and character synergy for Ayaka. Ayaka works really, really well with Venti. Their bursts are actually very similar, and they can combine together to deal some insane damage. And in this team, I will be using Ayaka, Mona, Venti, and Diona. So the basic rundown of this team is Mona is here to apply Hydro so that we can freeze. Diona is here for the extra shield, and of course her boost at C6 from her from her burst. I actually don't have that unlocked, but that would be the theory. Then you would use Venti's burst to combine it with Ayaka's.
이걸로 운명은 정해졌다. 도망칠 수 없어.
The one thing to note is that it's actually quite tricky to set this up with Ayaka's burst. It's a little hard to angle it properly, but when you do it properly, it can create some amazing reactions with Venti's ult.
카미사토류 멸망의 사 이걸로 운명은 정해졌다.
The next team that I will be showcasing isn't free-to-play friendly whatsoever, but it is my favorite team to use with Ayaka, and these are the characters that I will be using. It's Ayaka, Mona, Kazuha, and Bennett. So the reason why this team is really good is that it can be a freeze comp or a melt comp in one. You can create a Pyro Swirl set with a setup with Bennett and Kazuha, or you can create a Hydroome with Mona and Kazuha. Both options make Ayaka deal a lot of damage, but freeze is overall better in my opinion because it is overall more consistent. However, depending on the enemies you are fighting, you can use melt and it works really well either way. Alright, so we're going to be using the same boss as well, and then let's just see what happens.
운명이여 드러나거라.
낙엽이 지는 게 안타깝도다. 바람을
내가 못 도망칠 수 없어. 실례할게. 캬.
So as you can see that it dealt significantly more damage than what the other team has done, and this setup can be variated to be more free-to-play friendly, but you can get the gist of it that it deals a lot of damage since her burst almost completely obliterated their entire health bar. So this is my absolute favorite team to be running with Ayaka, and I will start going into some free-to-play friendly variations as well that could work and would have the same theory in mind. So Mona, you could substitute with Xingqiu. I think that would be a great option, and also Xingqiu can actually apply more Hydra with his burst. He's overall a better Hydra applicator, but Mona does give you the extra damage from her burst. Kazuha can be replaced with Venti or Sucrose. Sucrose can give you that extra elemental mastery bonus, which actually is amazing and would give you overall more damage. I probably would recommend Sucrose over Venti if you are looking to make Ayaka deal more damage. I think Sucrose would be much better at that. And then Bennett is not really replaceable. I mean, there's no one who doesn't like him. Bennett is Bennett. You know, he's the best support in the game. And yeah, that's about that. So I will try to showcase it with these characters. I do not have them properly leveled up, but I will equip some better artifacts on them so we can get an idea of what we're looking at. So I'll be right back. Alright, so in theory, this team is gonna work very similarly, but do keep in mind I do not have Sucrose or Xingqiu properly leveled up, so the damage won't be as great as it could be, but the gist of it, you should be able to get.
안전거리 확보. 불타올라라. 심했군. 열어. 침체거라. 총 공격을 시작하게.
So as you can see, even though I did not have my support or even my Sucrose, I don't even have that passive unlocked for her. You can see that I dealt a lot of damage, so this team still works really good. This is a very free-to-play friendly option, and yeah, Ayaka can be very strong even with a free-to-play friendly team. So other team options that you could possibly do would be like a Melt team. Melt isn't as consistent, but for instance, you could probably do something like Sucrose and then Zhangling and Bennett. That would probably work out really well for Ayaka. Or you could probably do even a different type of freeze comp, like you could do Xingqiu, Sucrose, and Diona. That would possibly work out really nicely as well. So those are some team options that you could use for Ayaka, but still overall my favorite is the one that I have. If you possibly can do that, do use that. It is overall much stronger, but It is overall, in my opinion, a little bit better. However, the one with Xingqiu, Sucrose, and Bennett is still an amazing option, and it's nearly identical. So do use that if you can. Either way, it makes Ayaka deal a lot of damage. So one more victim that I would like to beat up would be the Pyro Registine. I will be using this team right here. And I just want to showcase what is possible against the enemy that is more susceptible to cryo damage. Alright, we have made it, so now it is showtime. So as you can see, I don't have any food buffs or anything of that sort, so let's just go ahead and get this bad boy started.
내가 못 천명을 거스를 수 없어. 카미사토류 멸망의
Alright, and everyone, let's just say goodbye. Yeah, as you can see, that was a very fast defeat of the Pyro Registine, and I even dealt 50,000 on my elemental skill, which is quite insane. So I guess this can prove that Ayaka is in fact an insanely strong cryo main DPS, and I think she is overall worth it. But of course, only summon for the characters that you like and would have fun with. Damage is just one part of the game, and not everyone cares for it. But if you do, these guys can be very helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up and hit that subscribe button along with that notification bell. And I wish you all a wonderful day and happy grinding to everyone. I will see you all in my next one.